family. Talking about family and talking about work, you will agree with me that human existence will only thrive and flourish on these platforms. And I am happy that we have well-informed speakers who will address this topic under this theme of better families and better societies. Well-informed as family practitioners, as I can already see, and also well-informed by science and data that is backed up by their research studies on family and society. That said, I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Charles Arbona, who will be the moderator for this seminar. By the way, my name is Ben Onyenze. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ben, for that brilliant start. So I will just tell us a bit about our guest speakers. Charles Osezua is a professional engineer, an educator, and a businessman. He's married to Gloria Osezua for over 47 years. They founded the Institute for Work and Family Integration, a non-profit organization focusing on issues of work and family interface. Charles and Gloria facilitated several married couples relationship programs. They are certified marriage therapists who over the past 20 years have been helping couples to grow in happiness in their marriage through counseling sessions, seminar, webinars, and private therapy sessions for couples. They have applied their knowledge and experience in the design of the curriculum of several programs, including a marriage counselors training program, work-life integration program for corporate organizations, the married couples relationship program, and Kindle the Spark in Your Marriage. Charles also facilitates family programs in the executive program at Lagos Business School, showing the productivity and health benefits of integrating the family and work by applying the principles which apply in business to the family, and ensuring success in both. They have delivered several lectures on marriage and family to diverse audiences, both at home and abroad. Charles is a distinguished gas engineer honored in his country, Nigeria, for his contribution to the development of the natural gas industry and pioneering efforts in the gas utility industry in Nigeria. He's an officer of the Order of the Niger. Charles is also a Papa Knight and was honored by Pope Benedict as the Knight of St. Gregory the Great for the various contributions to the growth of the Catholic Church in Nigeria. Charles and Gloria are on over 20 boards. They have 6 children and many grandchildren. So Engineer Charles and Mrs. Gloria Osezua, you are welcome to the program. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Charles. I'm here with Gloria, she's on the screen. Ben, thank you very much for your comments. I think really what we hope to do this next few minutes really is to, Gloria and I will essentially talk to you about how to sustain happiness in marriage. And we'll share our experiences and how we have helped couples these last 30 years to rejuvenate and sustain happiness in their marriage.
Well, I will say it has been an incredible journey because marriage involves 2 imperfect persons called to do a perfect job. You know how that can be.
And really, that's the point, really, that in the course of doing this, because we're imperfect, we are going to make mistakes. But what is important is that always remember that none of us is perfect. We are work in progress, and we have a common objective to love, which is the objective purpose of marriage.
And of course, marriage is a practical school. There's no school more practical than it, that offers us a unique opportunity to learn those life lessons, of love that helps us to build a bright and cheerful home, as taught by a modern day saint, Saint Jose Maria.
So essentially, we'll be sharing our experiences. We'll demonstrate, as we discuss love, how it aligns with the teachings of St. Thomas Aquinas, which essentially tells us that, hey, love is to will and do and make somebody else happy. In this case, we are talking about your spouse, really. So love is to do the good and will it for the good and happiness of another, for the success of another person. So that's what we've been talking about and how that transforms you and I.
So let me emphasize before we continue that marriage is hard work. It's hard work, but like everything else that is of value, it requires total commitment of the parties involved. That is you and your spouse.
Okay, now I'll take it from there. I didn't really, yes, it's hard work, but it's also an adventure. And I think it's important for us to appreciate, yes, marriage is an adventure that started, just to remind us, if you think back, when you first met your spouse, what did you do? I think if we start from there, we can start to see how, or what are those essential things that make for happiness in marriage. I tell you, when I first met my girlfriend, now my wife of many years, it was an attraction. I was attracted to her, and I'm sure, like you, I asked her, may I know you? I think it's very natural to want to know. Because when you talk about love, you can only love what you know. And so we start this whole journey, this adventure of love, by wanting to know our spouse. And indeed, that's the whole journey. And that's the journey of life. At that time, there are certain things I dare say we did. We spent time and money trying to build relationship. We're finding opportunities to be together. We created them so we can bond and just share, talk to each other. And of course, as we knew each other, to knew one another, this led to courtship. Again, I'm telling you a story you are very familiar with. So from knowing to courtship. But what did we do in courtship? Just to know more. The more we know of each other, the more we are able to love them the way they need to be loved. And I think that's the real message here. So I was asking Gloria if we would chime in, as the young people say. So what I'm saying really here is that in knowing conscious, because you are spending more time together, you are finding things together, you're trying to impress each other or help each other to know you, consciously or unconsciously, you start to strengthen, you grow in love, you become friends, good friends. I tell you, Gloria said it's a hard job. Yes, even dating is hard job. I recall those early days, now it sounds so long ago, those early days, chasing my wife, I even had to learn to sing. Once, try it, and then sometimes I memorize my stories or what I'm going to tell her, because I want to say the right things. And I go there, and then something leads to another, and you'll be amazed at the point I've planned to say it, the message just evaporates. Can you imagine? So the point I'm making, guys, is that we seek ways to be together, to know each other, to achieve the goal of loving. And when we build that confidence, we now decide it's time to commit. And that's where we go. We decide to get married. Now, where we are married now, it takes us to a completely different level. I like to always describe marriage as, two made one, two becoming one. But more at those early stage, what do you see? I always say it look like man and woman become like the twin engines of a plane that has taken off. I don't know how long yours was, but you know, it can be as long as you want it, but we always hope it's longer. I mean, you are lovey-dovey. We're just like, yeah, married, but we are like boyfriend and girlfriend. Just we got married as students. And so we're just playing around like every other boyfriend and girlfriend. We're having a blast. And if you think back, what did you do during your honeymoon? I'm sure you were cleaving. You know, you developed common interests. Things were so good that nobody could do anything wrong. And that is the way it all started. Psychologists will tell us you were enjoying what you will say. Well, yeah, we'll say today, happily ever after. But indeed, you were having what you call positive emotional overdrive. So nothing else could go wrong. Everything your spouse did was good. Yes, I don't know how long you've been married, but I tell you, the cost of our married life, now for the 7 years, reality tells me very clearly, and I deal with, for the last 30 years, we work with a lot of couples. What is clear is that, yes, there are bound to be challenges. But that is the reality. Marriage is not always happily ever after. It lasts some time, but that gives us a foretaste of what is possible. I always say is to keep us in hope. You know, we've started an adventure, the marital adventure, seeking happiness. But happiness is the fruit of love. But like all adventures, what happens? We're going to make discoveries. Yes, we're going to change because, well, if for nothing else, your wife, for the men here, will become a pregnant woman, become a mother if God blesses your marriage with children. And she'll go through her monthly periods and there'll be changes. You also will change. But that is why it's an adventure. We are making discoveries, noticing the change, and of course, the overdrive is gone, and we now start to find the shortcomings. What are those things that you expected, excuse me, that are not there? But two broad categories, I'll just say. We start to appreciate, we start to hear different perceptions. You say one thing, your husband says another, or your wife says another. So you have different perceptions. The second thing, of course, we start to exercise our freedom, our right to choose. And I think really, let's just talk a little bit about these 2 points. Now, husband and wife are two different people with two different backgrounds. We used to say one is coming from Venus and they are coming from two different planets. The reality is that, yes, we are different, but our upbringings are different. Our family cultures are different. So we are conditioned differently. So we have our temperaments, and all these ones have helped to form our character. But the point I'm trying to make is that in making decisions, we see things from two different perspectives. My experiences, my biases and history influences my worldview, call it my paradigm. The way I see the world is different from the way my wife sees the world. And consequently, when there's an issue to be decided, we're going to have different perspectives. What I like to tell couples is that all the perspectives are correct. In the story of three blind men going to look at an elephant, what do they see? Each one will give you a description of the elephant depending on where they touched. Maybe they want to touch the leg, and they will say the elephant is round. One touch the tusk, He will tell you it's soft, but there was a long thing there. And then I will tell the stomach and say, oh, it's very big and flat. They were all correct. But that is the reality of our lives and our relationship in marriage. So what do they have in common? The only common thing to couples really is the shared desire, the common desire for love and happiness. And this is really what transforms us. Because we love, we now find that convergence. And that's what we're saying, we listen to understand, so we can then make sense out of it. Now, that is the first perception, things we discover. We are different, we are work in progress, but we'll transform if we stay consistent with the promise we made on our wedding day. The second point really is the element of freedom. You know, in our introductory remarks just now, Gloria told us about St. Josemaria, a modern day saint about building a bright and cheerful home. That is our ultimate objective. That's our goal. But what do we see? When you come to the realization that the common objective is love, you also find that how we appreciate and perceive love is different. Our freedom is to do good. But we can choose out of freedom not to use our freedom for good. Now, what happens? If we choose otherwise, we let our emotions run. Our emotions are dictating what we do. But if we subject our choices to our intellect and will, we'll use our freedom for good. Now, I'll just maybe a little digression here. I mean, this is a special VGC program. I take it everybody in VGC, of course. Yes. In our professionals or businessmen, I mean, it's a highbrow area in Lagos. What do we do in our professional life? In our professional life, to control our emotions and minimize errors in our decisions, you and I we develop habits. Yes, we go through information, we go through school, we acquire certain discipline, we know our business and our focus, and we know how to apply them. And in our businesses, we call them processes and procedures, which guide us. We apply these processes and procedures habitually. However, applying those same processes or discipline, which were the processes that brought us to become, to marry in marital relationship. I said, because of the difficulty, Gloria told us it's hard business. It's a tough business.
It's hard work.
It's a hard work. So some of us rebel because we are free to. So because we can rebel or decide not to, we do otherwise. And what happens? Then we have conflicts. In our professional life, we'll call that one misconduct. Use even stronger words, But really, it's about aligning our actions and behaviors consistently with the dictates of love. That is really what it's all about. I'll tell you a personal story. Very early in our marriage, remember the whole essence of this story is what we're talking about knowing. I'll tell you, early in our marriage, Gloria and I had a fight. Yes, and what caused it? Gloria was trying to know me. And she wants to know everything about me, my secret, my phone, how much I'm earning. Sometimes I even want to go out to boys. When I say we have boys night, she wants to come with me. Which kind of nonsense? We're having fun. Honeymoon is over. But please, I want to have some space. Why was I resisting my friend? Simply put, I don't know who is from Edo State here or something, but I'm from Edo State. I'm from Isha. And the general saying, somebody to remind them is, the more your wife knows about you, if your wife knows everything about you, you become woman of power. So very careful. So I was afraid I don't want to be a woman rapper. So that's where it all started. So I was trying to build some secret and say, okay, yeah, okay, yes, it's my wife, it's but I must have certain things that she doesn't know. Well, of course, it didn't work out very well. I think the gentleman in the slide there is cleaning his eyes, is stressed out. And everybody is stressed out. And so this led to quarrels, and eventually we fought. But Gloria was in terrible pain. For her, there was a breach of trust. I had promised to love her. That's what I promised. But here I am, denying her the basic tool she needs to be able to love me the way I need to be loved. She reported me to the parish priest. The parish priest reported us to, sent us to a marriage counselor. They happened to be our marriage sponsors. Well, we had dialogue, we had discussions. But the key word really is that we came to understand each other's, what was driving each other. We forgave ourselves. Well, she forgave me because I was the aggressor. I was, okay, so I'll tell you what I did, but we fought. She forgave me, and we resolved to begin again, to start all over again. I think the point for me really is that marriage is a begin and begin again. We are constantly starting. And as we realize, as we align, as we try to love the way we love demands it, we need to go through several adaptations. Because remember, I said change. Change is something that is constant in our life. And so it would demand, adaptability is really about changing. So for me to adapt, it means I have to be a true husband. I have to live as a husband should live, and my wife should live as a wife should live. And therefore, we can both grow in love. Because the essence is really for us to grow in love and to be more vulnerable, letting ourselves be known. And in doing that, we are transformed to become lovers. That's really how we become true leaders. So adaptability, in the words of, well, I always tell people, I say, Charles Darwin is not my favorite Charles. The fact that we have the same last name doesn't mean that, the first name means that, no, but I mean, it's an evolutionary, me, I believe in God and all this, so there's a deviation there. But the important thing really, Charles tells us something that I think is very fundamental. He said, it is not the strongest or the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. So for me, marriage and sustaining happiness is about our ability to respond, to live fidelity to the promise of love. In other words, adapting to the demands of love. Change, as the changes come, we also adapt. But that's where we transform. Love now makes, because we are growing in virtue, transforms us to become husband, men and women, mature people who make decisions based not just emotions, not on their emotion, but based on their intellect. They think through things and they proactively, they think through things and they subject to their will and make decisions. So the freedom is then in order to do good, which is what it's created for. But I think the long and short of it here, there's a tendency to tell a lot of stories. If we subject ourselves, if we focus, if we manage our marital relationship based on what I'll call principles, just like we do in business, we'll have a blissful marriage. We will fall, we'll make mistakes, but we'll recover because you and your spouse have a common denominator. Common denominator, of course, are those principles which are constant. In the case of marriage, the key really is love. And there are so many attributes to love. So we can then grow in love as we use that as our base in making decisions. And of course, happiness is the fruit of love. I'm sure Gloria is anxious to speak. So Gloria will take it from here. I mean, so she can share with you some of the practical things. Anyway, Gloria will take it from here.
Well, thank you, Charles. When you started, you talked about, love being the willing and of the good and the happiness of the other person, which in this case, in marital case, our spouse. And that is so true. Now, do you will the good and the happiness of your spouse, of your wife, of your husband? That's a question for you to answer for the little you have heard so far. Because if you do, then they must be happy. So if they are happy, then you will be happy. Because happiness is one thing that you give to the other person and yours is increased. So sometimes we don't recognize that and we hold on to us being happy and the other person making us happy. So the truth is, when we give of ourselves, we are able to love better. So, and for us to actually live out what Charles has told us, a few of that, there has to be, this, what we will refer to in our kind of business as tools. And the most important tool for us who are married is communication. We have to, our communication style has to be that lubricates the love relationship. If it doesn't lubricate it, you know what the ions do. One rubbing against the other, they wear and they tear. Whereas if they are well lubricated, they glom over and one another and there's harmony. So that is what our communication, should do for us. So how do we communicate with our spouse? How do we talk with our spouse? Do we talk with our spouses, or do we talk to our spouses, or we talk at our spouses? This has a long way, it goes a long way on how it is received. So another question for us to answer is that, how do we speak, with our spouse? And how do we get them, to listen to us? Now, and the focus here, should be, thank you. The focus here should be we being able to express ourselves, express our feelings, rather than complain or attack. Because that is actually the bait of it all. That in our relationship, marriage relationship, that is, we should be able to, express our feelings to our spouses, and help them to understand. It's just like sometimes, instead of saying, to Charles, hey, Charles, where have you been all day? You are supposed to have been at home since 8 o'clock with the family, and you are not there. I wonder what you are thinking. If we say something like that to our spouse, definitely the outcome is they may not, answer us back, depending on their temperament, or they can also bounce us back and tell us off, or there won't be any communication there. So what we are trying to say here about communicating our feelings is that we should, instead of that antagonistic, request, we can simply put it, in a more acceptable manner. I was worried about you, my dear, that you are not back, back home at 8 o'clock when you usually come. I hope you are okay. You see, it does two things for your spouse. Oh, you care about me. You want to know what kept me out of my usual schedule. And you know that you recognize the fact that I am not around. So that will definitely attract a better response, from our spouse, and will make us to be listened to. Because many of us, we complain, oh, my wife doesn't listen to me. Oh, my husband doesn't listen to me. First and foremost is for us to check how we communicate. And still in that, communication mode, we have to know what it is to pay attention. Give attention to our spouses. When they are speaking to us, we should let them know that we are listening. We have to learn to listen and hear them out. So we shouldn't calculate, what is going to say next and how I'm going to respond. Charles and I, have found it, useful to make our feelings known, express what we feel, and give them the opportunity, and give him the opportunity, or myself the opportunity to understand and to respond. So like that, you are able to have what we will call dialogue. Because with dialogue, that means, two-way street. Somebody is speaking and the other one is listening. So we are able to avoid, in our own communication, we are able to avoid debating to win. Because you find spouses, this is one thing that really, throws them apart in their communication. Everyone wants to win. Yes, I should have the last word. If I don't, it means I am weak. No, but the truth is, the more you make yourself understood, the better your relationship will be, and the more harmony that will be in it. So for Charles and I, we strive each time to make sure that we communicate with each other. We avoid, that winning effect, but, focus on dialoguing to resolve issues in our conversations, which has proven very fruitful. And of course, what else? We tried also to be spouse-centered. By that, we mean, oh, it's my way or highway. It's not what, with time, we came to understand that that does not, bring in the goods. So what does my spouse feel about this? What does he have to say? Giving them the opportunity, to have an input and allowing us, to have that synergy, that pollination of ideas, that brings the image of the family to the fore, one image that we are meant to create. So it is for us to always remember, we are on a mission with a friend and not a foe. And we need that companionship, to help us in doing that. So, and another thing we found quite useful is the emotional connection. In our relationship, Charles and I, we struggled because life is about, living and loving. So we try to make sure that that emotional connection, is there. It's not about building a house or emotional whatever, but the truth and the fact is that we learn to do, what we should do, being part of each other's world through fondness and shared activities. So, and this helps us, to be together. So even when we are not together, we are still connected. That emotional connection, is something that has worked for us in sustaining that happiness in our marriage relationship. So how did we, what are other things that we did? Charles and I, we managed to have what we call joint activities. It's easier to go by yourself on whatever it is that you want to do, but we try to carry each other along. We try to make sure that we are together, we decide together, and we move together. So what are those things that we did? We learn simple things. They are not invented. It's not a hybrid stuff. Just simple daily living. Eat at least one meal together in a day, because it gives you, for us, it gives us an opportunity to be together, to share together, to know new habits that our spouse may have incorporated without knowing, and also gives us an opportunity to share. So if it's not possible in your own case to eat at least one meal together during the week, you can plan for your own weekend to at least have that. That closeness has to be encouraged through that joint activity. When we used to go to office, we still work. So then we made it a point of duty, to ride together whenever it was possible. We both have our cars, but we rather ride together and have that 100% redundancy just to follow us. When we get to the first person's office, you drop that person and you go in your car and you leave the other person's car. So it gives us an opportunity to discuss, to pollinate ideas, to share, what we call sweet nothings. You young people, you say that these days. Oh yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of young people there as well. So, but that is where the couple energy comes from. Yeah? We maintained a gadget-free time for ourselves. It wasn't always like that. That is why marriage is, working on it is a continuum. You review it each time and see where it is, the shoe is hurting, and you take the necessary step, to curb it. We had our own issue as per, gadgets, but we also were able to, during those our reviews, hey guy, you are now spending more time on your gadget than you spend on me. So reviewed it and made those decisions where we shouldn't have our telephone, not on the dining table, not when we are discussing ourselves, about ourselves or our children, and not when we are together, in our own time. So these things helped us to bond, very effectively. We learned to go on dates, and we still go on dates, even as we speak, every day, at least once a week, for us to be able to share. Yes. So to have each other and to love each other. So that dating has been continued and is still continuous. So, and of course, just us time. We have what we call just us time, where the whole issue is about just the two of us, and we know how to live it out, together. And of course, have a reunion time at the end of the day, when we can give each other, undivided attention, to listen. And this is so important. This is, some of this can be converted to family rituals. This is how you build your own life and your world together, well knitted. When you said, oh, they are so interwoven, it all comes, they all come out from this kind of simple activities where we hold each other, in high esteem. So, and of course, we have, even to still boost the fondness, we have what we call being able to appreciate each other. Oh, he's wearing this suit with that tie. We should be able to compliment ourselves, which he does a lot of, very much, and I'm loving it. Now, I do the same for him. When he's dressed up with I say, no, let's change the jacket. We have to wear the other one because that really brings you out. For this occasion you need to look like this. So we're able to, your spouse leaves home with an emotional tank that is full. So they are not going to need anybody to give them compliment out there and get carried away. So we have to appreciate what we've been given, what we have, be able to, appreciate each other, go for walks, just hold hands, You know, for all it's a hallmark. If I don't hold my husband's hand, it's as if something is missing. And I don't know how, you know, people can work together, and, you know, this one is going this way and this way. For me, it's a wasted opportunity. So we do a lot of that. It also helps us to connect. You know, we hold hands, you allow the adrenalines to flow, you know, call each other up during the course of the day. You can never be too busy to call your spouse. Not to ask about the children or to give them a message, just to say, I was just thinking about you today. How have you been? Or how are you? You know, it gives, you know, that impression that, yes, I am special and I'm treated specially. Bring home a little gift. Like Charles was coming 2 days ago. No, it was during the last weekend, and, you know, he knew I wasn't feeling well. So he rushed out for an occasion and he was coming back. He knows I love boiled granite. He bought me one. And when I saw it, even though I couldn't eat, I had to take one, you know, broke it, and I enjoyed it, because my spouse thought about me and he knew what I enjoy and he made the effort to get it. So these are the little ways, you know, they are numerous, but it's forced to, you know, take time to make time to be together and be there for each other. So, and I like a situation of Charles, you know, putting it all together.
Not very well, not very well. I think, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think the whole idea really was to give you an insight.
Yes.
Into a brief insight. It cannot be all. I mean, these are significant weekend programs, but what we try to do is just to give you a flavor. How do you sustain love in your marriage? And we hope that a few tidbits we have given will energize, revigorate your relationship. So you discover happiness in your marriage and apply them so you can sustain happiness.
Yes.
That's the objective, really, you know, sustaining that happiness in your relationship. Marriage is ordained for happiness, but we have to let it happen. It happens when we love. So anyway, I also hope that it raise some issues in your mind, and therefore you can ask us some questions. We're here for a few more minutes, or some of Charles will tell us how long we are here for. But we are here. If there are questions, we can take those questions.
Yes. So we'll take your questions now, please. Ambrose, are you asking a question?
No, not yet. I'm trying to key my wife into it. We'll be using my phone. Hello?
Okay.
All right. So time for questions. We'll take your questions, your comments, and Ben.
Okay. So Charles, comments, and let me start by thanking Engineer Charles and Lady Gloria for a very wonderful presentation. Matter of fact, you have succeeded in making some of us jealous. You have made me jealous. I don't know about others, you know. And I think you have done a very good job of the topic for today. And what I took out of all this presentation is, one, love and happiness being the fruit of love, you said. It is hard work, it is an adventure, and during this adventure, you're going to have to make some discoveries. And you talked about adaptability, for us to learn how to adapt, you know, when the changes as a result of discoveries come. Communication, which you really hammered on, Lady Gloria, it's very, very key to what we are discussing. Listening and making it a dialogue. It's not a debate, you know, to win in the discussion. And I like the fact that love and happiness, you know, will bring the harmony. Because when you were speaking, I mean, it's like saying that the love in you will bring out the love in the other. And together, you will live a very harmonious life. And the pillars to all this, you know, they will stand on about 5 pillars. It is a mission with a friend. It is companionship. It is an emotional connection, fondness with one another. Joint activities and dating to reignite that spark, which has always been in you. And so I think mine is more of a comment, and I can see.
Wow, thank you very much, Ben, my colleague in the pharmacy profession.
Yes. We join hands. Yes.
Yes, we join hands. All right, so we have some comments here for you, Charles and Gloria. How do you handle a spouse that doesn't like talking about finance except when asked? That's one. The other one is more than a question. I think is a hailing from Godwin saying, Daddy Charles, how did you do it? I can see how happy Madam is. Talk through.
Oh, gosh, you.
Talk through.
It's from Edo State, I'm sure. Anyway, so maybe you can attend to that second one of the handle a spouse that doesn't like talking about finance except when asked. Now, the question is such that since they've called it spouse, you don't know whether it's a man that is not talking about the money or is a woman. So most likely the man. Anyway, you can answer either way.
Okay, I think money, well, now, like you're absolutely correct, Charles, it says spouse, and that was deliberate. Today, it doesn't really matter. It could be the man, it could be the woman. There's a breadwinner in the family. But one thing I always tell people is that, look, I think I said in this just comment just now, the principles that work for business work for the family. In the business, everybody creates some value where you get money, and that money is the business. The same thing in the family. God picks whoever he chooses to enrich the family. It could be the man, it could be the woman. I mean, in my life experience, there was a time I was a sole breadwinner. I mean, when we just started maybe 4 or 5 years into our marriage. We relocated to Houston. My wife was pregnant, and I was working. But that also taught us something, So I was the breadwinner, and we had, in our own case, what was clear in our case, or what we learned early in our relationship, was that whatever we are doing is for the good of the family. So if I'm the breadwinner and I'm earning money on behalf of my wife and children. I was at the Word Summit Thursday, and I said, look, that's really what it is. In my life, I have what I call the Owners Council. And there's an Owners Council. But my wife is the chairman, and my kids are members. And but that's a different discussion. Let me go and try to talk. I think I'm rambling. Maybe Gloria should take this question because I'm spending too much time. Maybe I gather my thoughts. I think the man will say I should talk through. That will confuse myself. I always tell the truth, guy, but I'll take that question.
Okay, now they are specified to say that it is the man that don't like talking about finances.
There you go. So, well, he doesn't like talking about finances. The actual truth, the real thing is for the person to talk about finance. You should invite the person to the round table and have a chit chat about money, because you have to talk about it, and unless you talk about it, you won't be able to plan for it. So, and that is where budgeting comes in. So you have to come to the round table, agree on some, like Charles will always say, there's one, Department of Finance in an organization, the one, where all the monies go. That is one principle. But you have to have the one that works for you. Both of you having your joint account, or each person having their own account but contribute to the center, or you have, assignment of responsibility. But talking about it, you have to, because that is the only way you can plan as a family. Otherwise, you will not have the fullness of the union. When it comes to finances, it doesn't matter who is earning the money. Like Charles just said, your money, my money is the family's money. So you are only a channel, and unless you recognize that for a fact, you can derail the way your finances go in your family. So talking about it, you have to talk about it and plan with whatever income you have.
I think just to add to that is to say, Charles.
Okay, what?
We have hundreds of questions. Yes, continue. I mean, just to say that we have hundreds of questions. So yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's not spend too much
time. Not spend too much time. But money is such an important thing in marriage. But it's something people don't want to discuss because it's not romantic. And it's not romantic because money challenges us. But remember that everything we do in marriage is supposed to unite us. So however you share it or decide to do it is, if it's not uniting if it's not keeping two of you together stronger, then something is wrong. Principles in business, create a budget and be governed by it. So you have a plan on what to do with money when it comes. Okay, I'll leave it at that. The second question you were asking, Charles, what was that again? The second one was something about.
Okay, so there are many more. I'll read them through now. How do you handle a spouse who doesn't know how to apologize? I kept apologizing and I am tired.
No, Charles, sorry, I'll take you back. In your last two questions, you talked about finance. And the other was about.
It was just finance.
It was finance. Okay,
just finance.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go ahead.
All right. So how do you handle a spouse that doesn't know how to apologize? I kept apologizing and I'm tired.
Well, the first thing there is to understand the temperament of that your spouse. Yes. They don't like to apologize. Maybe if they are choleric, they can be very proud. Pride will stand in their way, even when they are wrong, or they never accept their own. It's actually pride. So you have to understand the personality of your spouse. And another thing is, some spouses may choose their own way of apologizing, because it's not every spouse that will come to you and kneel down and tell you, I'm very sorry for what I have done, etc., etc. It might not happen like that. But, that notwithstanding, it has to, we have to be able to recognize when our spouse is apologizing. I give you, an insight of, from history. My husband, is the one who may not like to apologize, but he has his own way of apologizing. He doesn't need to come and kneel before you or whatever it is. But by the time he's telling me, I saw your slippers at the entrance of the door, and I brought them for you, I know he's apologizing. So I don't need to get him on his knees for me to recognize the fact that he's apologizing. So it's for us to understand, this is where the knowing comes in. When we say knowing your spouse, it's not, what clothes they like to wear, and those ones are good, but really and truly is knowing them for who they are and learning to love them the way they need to be loved. So for my husband, I'm not going to, crucify him if he doesn't come and kneel down and tell me all those sweet stories. I won't expect that. That would be foolhardy if I'm expecting him to do that. But I also know when he becomes extra nice and he says, this one, or brings this one, or helps me with, I know he's apologizing in his own way. Because I know the man, I'm able to appreciate that. So you have to know your spouse and know, their own, either you call it body language or love language, however you want to express it, is to know the individual, the way they will, it didn't expatiate on paradigms today, different paradigms. We have to be able to make sure we are also looking at life, from our spouse's point of view, because of their experience, because of their personality and all that. They all come in together to kind of bring out the character and the personality that the man or the woman acts out. So it's to know the individual and see if actually they are making that effort.
I think really is to say, everybody, even your husband or your spouse who is not apologizing, the point here is really that they do apologize, but they apologize differently. So I think it's about knowing your spouse. It's to be able to, I'm sure after you apologize, you will have some discussions. I mean, when you apologize about, say, okay, I'm sorry, this has gone wrong. Okay. If the apology is also sincere, that also triggers reaction. So I think, again, it opens, I always say where there's a quarrel, is for dialogue. Anytime you have a disagreement or a conflict, what is calling for is dialogue. It's a guide. Because really, what causes conflicts? What do you apologize? Is when husband and wife are not able to connect. Remember, because the whole idea really, you are communicating, we are always communicating with our spouse. Everything we do in marriage is about, we are communicating to our spouse. Whether you refuse to say something or you are saying something or the way you even look, you are communicating. Conflict will arise when your husband or your wife decide to do something else instead of what you were asking them to do or requesting them to do. Because about, do you love me more than what you are doing? It's when you love that you find that happiness. Yeah. And if the choice is to do something else, if you try to be selfish, then of course you are happy, and that's that conflict. What you do at that stage is actually to discuss. And Gloria elaborated a lot, talked a lot about dialogue. For us to then stop and say, okay, can we discuss? So two of you sit down and talk about the issue. When it's issue-centered, you find that you resolve matters. Apologies will be plenty if it's relevant, if it's necessary. But first and foremost is to understand what were the issues, why was there conflict, and once you resolved it, forgiveness is the key word. Remember, I told you guys just now, Gloria and I fought earlier than married, and then we don't still disagree. I mean, Gloria and I still have to do it. But the key really is to be able to forgive and just say, okay, naughty guy, let's go. Or find some other way to bring it back to the positive, so we forget about those things.
Okay, next.
Yeah. Any more questions?
All right. Yeah, sure. What happens when it seems that just one spouse is making an effort to keep a marriage?
Just one spouse is making effort
to keep a marriage.
To keep the marriage. So the first thing is you have to understand, what that effort is. And secondly, what is the requirement that, that spouse is not getting that makes them feel that the other one is not making enough effort? We have to take into consideration a lot of things. Things that are not taken at face value when it comes to marriage relationship. Okay, what you might think the spouse is doing for not, keeping the marriage might just be your illusion. So it's to now, okay, I'm making this effort. Come, guy, or come, woman. We need to make this thing work. What do we need to do? You see, it always comes back to the drawing table. What do you think we need to do? Why are we not making progress? What are the things that we require to move the family forward? These are discussions that helps you to, gender new ways or steady ways of keeping your marriage relationship, working. So it's not enough to do it your own way and you think, oh, the other one is not making effort. Your own way may not even be the right way for him or for her. So is for both of you to sit and say, look, this is the mission we both have been called, to. How do we make progress of it? With openness, so with a lot of openness and a lot of allowances, then you'll be able to have a discussion and chart a path that everybody needs to deliver on. So you move it forward.
Yeah, it takes two to tango, as we say in local parlance. And that's the bottom line, really. And remember, we're talking about perception when we discuss the elephant. Your way may not be his way. I mean, your understanding may not be his understanding. So it's to help each other understand. And really, that helps when we listen to understand. Empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoe so they will understand what you are talking about. So your effort becomes meaningful when it's complemented. But it takes understanding why there's no connection. Okay.
Good. Now, how do you manage properties together?
Properties?
Yes.
Are you selling some?
I
mean, property is real asset, Charles. I think marriage is two becoming one. 1 + 1 becoming 1. And there's only one family. And so when you say, how do you marry properties together? The properties belong to the family. You can give it to a company to manage for you. The people will do that. And they only wait for the income that comes from there, which is easier to deal with. But really, asset is good, but you also decide how you use it, whether you are used to borrow as collateral, whatever. So really, I think the first challenge, really, when you ask that question, Charles, is that when you say how you manage property together, is that there's already a dichotomy. You want to first bridge it and recognize, yes, you earn the money, you bought this house, but that house belongs to the family. Maybe there's a story I like to tell couples that, and I told you guys when I started a job in Houston many years ago now. It's an incident, my 10th level for that interview. My wife was invited because I was to now agree or disagree on the salary. But the fact that my wife was to be interviewed created a lot of anxiety for me. She's not a geophysicist. She doesn't do geology. She's not a petroleum engineer. She's a computer scientist, specialized in that area. Why would they want to interview her? But the long and short of it, when it was my turn for interview, my wife was interviewed at 9:30 and I was to be interviewed at 10. I was so nervous or so anxious that I forgot I was coming looking for a job. And then I asked my boss, future boss, so why do you have to interview my wife? They told me something which has remained with me for life. There was a wish of the founder that anybody whose job is going to take him out of town for a reasonable time, more than 2 weeks, he said, they would like to interview the spouse. But what became clear, okay, so to be sure that they were ready mentally to manage the house or for your absence, and they were also ready to manage your responsibility, your commitment. So that's the background. But this company was Baker Hughes. The founder who made that wish was the richest man in the world at the time. His assets, we can still see them here, property, got them company, American Airlines, all this good stuff. But the key here was that when they asked my wife to sign, because they were going to deduct from my salary, whatever amount she said she needed to manage my responsibilities. I had then asked them for the paper, the form she has filled. Said the only thing standing between me and the job was my authorizing the company to deduct a certain amount from my salary. I looked at it, and as they say, my pressure came down. Gloria had only requested for what we had already put in our budget, not more, not less. It's not today now that you can run your bank from your phone as you run along on the road. Everything in those days was analog. She had to write checks. She had to pay my bills. She had to do all those good stuff. The account she picked was our joint account. So there was nothing surprising. By the time I found out that that guy, being the richest man in the world, didn't much to him, he could not keep a family. And that's why it was necessary for him to go outside business to think about how to protect the families of those he will be employing. But it's all about solidarity and building trust. So property, your property, my property, I think it starts to create a divide. It's one family, and everything the family has, whether it's from the man, whether you inherited from your father or your woman, inherited from your father or grandfather, it comes in. You have one destiny. Ultimate inheritor are your children. You own them together. So I think that should reassure us about this whole thing. What you also want to be mindful of course, yes, when it comes to this, is the financial personality of those people. Yes. We all have different personality. Yes. Some maybe give freak, they just like to give away things. Others may, but that's something you need to understand. And I think then you can share responsibility, who does what, who has what authority, and so on and so forth, like we do in business. I find it works for me. It works very well for my family. And so properties and all, everybody knows what property we have in my family because I brief them. I make presentation actually. As you get older, so they need to know what asset the family has.
So how do you handle a hostile partner, always ready to fight and never forgives?
Well, how do you handle a hostile partner?
Always ready to fight and never forgives.
I think that's a misnomer. Yeah. You see, I think we need to emphasize the point that we fight, all of us humans. There's not inherently, as human beings, when we get to the point, the end of our logic, we fight. And people can no longer explain, frustration sets in. But fighting is a build-up from something. There's always irritation. Things started it. I mean, I talked just now about fighting. But really, it takes a while to get to that point. So what are the underlying causes? You know, but you cannot be in love, be married, and you're always fighting or ready to fight. Then there's a danger. If you continue on that plane or trajectory, you could do something even more. Somebody may kill somebody. So maybe it's the phrasing of the question. I hope maybe I didn't understand it correctly, but I don't think it's natural to say you always want to fight. You want to comment on that, maybe? Maybe you have a different insight.
Not really, because if somebody is always wanting to fight, the first thing to look at or to find out is their personality. That means if they are choleric or they are sanguine, different personalities, so they can have that aggressiveness. Secondly is to find out if there are issues that were not properly handled, that were not settled, that has been building up, and every little thing we ignite it. So it means there has to be a proper diagnosis of your relationship in that area, whatever area it may be, to find out if there is something that is always causing something, because that's human nature. If you have offended me and you refuse to acknowledge that you have offended me, and the next thing is to say, are you still gloomy about that one? You should forget about that one now. I have moved on. By the time you tell me you have moved on, and me, why I am still, there, paining and gloomy. There's no way anything, even if I say, okay, I'm moving on now, another little thing will just, ignite whatever, is going on in me, and there's problem. So you find that aggression, resentment sets in, hate, you can take it to a different level of forgiveness. So it means you have to, make sure you do a proper diagnosis of the cause of anger, and what you need to do to suit that individual. If you're able to know what it is, you have to give them what they desire to suit them so they can let go. And until that one is done, it's just like, you are building
bandage and so that treatment.
Yes. So those are the things you need to. So it's not a quick fix. So you have to find out what is causing it and what you need to do to suit them. And of course, the family history is another thing. What their upbringing, has brought to bear on them. Most of those things can also impact how we react.
I think, Charles, it also will be a case for therapy.
Yes.
Because you need a professional to look at it, carry out that diagnostics, to know what the underlying causes are. And then the spouses can then agree. I mean, because Gloria has said it already, really, for someone to always want to fight, there's a dream that is being frustrated, or there's an underlying cause. You have to find that and until you identify that and it's addressed and treated, it becomes a rather caustic environment. So I think it's a case, please, you need to see a professional therapist who can then carry out a diagnostics and help to find the underlying causes and treat it.
Yes.
So the fellow will feel suited.
So how do you handle a spouse that doesn't like sex? It's been 9 months since my husband touched me. There are opportunities to cheat, but I've been keeping cool. I've talked severally, still nothing.
What?
You have what?
I've talked severally.
Oh, talked.
Okay.
Still nothing. No.
Well, that is, one area in marriage relationship that is, is very, is touchy. So if you have a spouse that doesn't, is it that they don't like sex or they refuse to have sex? These are two different things. So it depends on who is talking. If it is the man that is talking about his wife,
it's the woman that is talking.
If the
wife complaining.
Oh, is the wife complaining? Okay. So the thing is, you find out this. You see, everything is not Panadol. Take 2 and the headache will go away. So you have to first ask yourself, how am I contributing to this man not wanting, to make love to me? What is it that I am doing that is irritable? Because when somebody is irritated, there's no way they can, come to the individual to say you want to make love, because, like Charles will say, that is the deepest level of communication. And you give the totality of yourself, and you have to be in the mood to be able to do that. So that is first level of finding, to find out why, the individual is refusing, to make love. Then secondly, the next thing is, okay, as a man, what is it that is preventing me from making, or as this is a woman, please, sorry. What is it that is preventing me from making love with this man? Those are details, those are things we should find out even on a person to person basis, to enable us be able to, deal with the issue. And like there was a situation in the past of a young lady, a while back. He told me, my husband has not taught me for 3 months. So I told her, I said, my dear, yes, so it's good that you are waiting and wishing. I said, but nobody says that your hands should be kept under lock and key. If your husband doesn't touch you, you can touch your husband. Yes, it's your husband. You can touch them. You can also, I actually went ahead to say, look, you have to make yourself, attractive to your husband. You have to make the move as well. And you have to ensure that you use your feminine, gifts, to entice him. Because it's not only men that want women and they are crazy about it. The woman can also want a man and can be crazy about it. So there are ways you can go about it. It's for you to know what you want, because the capacity has been given to you as a woman. But you have to make sure that, a few of these things are done, that you put the man in the right mood, that you make yourself attractive and you make your move. He's just a man, and you'll be able to, walk him over.
I think, yep. I don't know about walking over. I think you've talked about the underlying issue need to be unearthed, really. Did anybody walk over?
No, walking them over, that is almost making yourself to be hard.
I mean, sex is, sex is so important in marriage that God made it very, it's sweet. I mean, we enjoy sex, and it's central, it's key in marriage. So if you say 9 months, I will say, Gloria has talked about it, but something I always tell them, I said, nature instructs us. And then I was talking to a group of, this is a smaller group. I went to Kenya once to talk to a group of 300 and something, and somebody also raised the same issue. What I'd like to tell them, I say, I'm from the village, but something nature instructs us. For a man to want to make love to a woman, she has to have prepared him. You see, the man is like, I was using, yes, the man is like an auto. You have your 2 cars, manual is no longer common now, except you are driving a truck. You have the manual, you have the automatic. The man is like an automatic. The woman is more manual. You have to build up emotion, get it more interesting. It has to say, I tell men, I say, chase your wife. Now, this is the case of a wife whose husband is not chasing her. So chase your husband.
Yes. As
I grew up in a village, you know what happens? You see cock and hen. The cock will drive the hen all over the place. He's chasing the cock, the hen. The same thing, you should chase your husband. Gloria said, yeah, be attractive. I remember some days, many years ago now, Gloria, I'm taking a shower. Now it's almost routine. She'll jump into the shower with me. First, I was shocked. He said, I want to talk to you, but you don't want to pay attention. Okay, so you can't run away from the shower now. You're already naked. So what you don't do? Well, anything can happen from there. But guys, don't take your husband for granted. I know you are talking, but I think this is not just talk.
Yeah, it's not talk.
Gloria has to find out why but there must be something that is turning him off.
Yes, what you
So
are doing.
what did you do that is turning him off? Because why I say the man is an automatic, if you chase your man, he's likely to fall. So when you use the word that, yeah, women always have, they have that over us.
Yes,
for the men in the house. But for the man to shut down really means, hey, there's something that is making him not, his body is not rising to the occasion. Because there's an underlying issue.
All right,
Okay.
so we have to go now, but there are still like loads of questions, but we have to go. And at this juncture, I would like to invite the secretary of the Social Welfare Committee, Rex Osagede. Can you make the vote of thanks so that we can move?
Wow. Good evening, everyone. It's been very an interesting and engaging discussion. On behalf of the Social Welfare Committee, I want to express our gratitude to the Institute for Works and Family Integration.
You are muted, Rex.
Rex, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh wow, it's even gone. Okay, you are back.
Hello, yeah, sorry, a call just came in. Can you imagine at this special moment? Sorry about that. As I was saying, on behalf of the Social Welfare Committee, I would like to express our gratitude to the Institute for Works and Family Integration for this free, I repeat, free, insightful, and thought-provoking webinar. Thank you so much. We also want to express our appreciation to the speaker, Charles and Gloria, for their invaluable contribution. Their expertise and experience have certainly provided us with a wealth of knowledge that we can use to better our personal relationship. The subject we discussed today, sustaining happiness in marriage. For me, the topic is what I actually meditated on. You know, there are lots of discussion and books and other events that encourage how to sustain marriages. But this one, there's a particular underlying word there, happiness. Because many people are in a relationship, they have committed to it, they have committed to sustaining that marriage. They have signed into it, they are settled for it, but is there happiness in that marriage? And so for me, the takeaway for me is happiness in that relationship. So I hope that the insight, perspective, and tips shared today will not just resonate with us, but will also help us in enhancing our understanding and approach to maintaining happiness and harmony in our marriage. Thank you very much, Engineer Charles and Mama, for this opportunity to have enjoyed what you are enjoying, the bliss you are enjoying. Thank you for sharing with us. Before I conclude, I also want to quickly use this opportunity to express my profound gratitude to my team, the Social Welfare Committee. Their commitment to the well-being of our community is truly commendable. We recently concluded on the social welfare event calendar for 2023-2024, which will be coming out soon. I urge all residents to please be part of one or at least one or every event that we are scheduled in that calendar. I'd like to remind everyone that this is just one of the many webinars that the social welfare will be hosting. We encourage you to keep an eye out for future events and join us in our ongoing efforts to build a stronger, happier, and healthier community. Once again, thank you all for being part of this event. We look forward to hosting you once again. Please, when we call, answer also, please. And we'll be coming again for free. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much. So I see there are so many more questions, but we can't take them. Something Rex will also tell you later is that we have a couples weekend program scheduled for the year. He will send the details to you. So there you can have a weekend with us, and then we have to entertain all your comments and questions. Thank you for being here. And
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate you.
Okay.
Bye, Charles.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mama
Bye.
Gloria. Bye.
Bye, Rex.